Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. If you see this, please let me know if you can hear me. But if you look at the topic, we are talking about child custody and who should get it and why. And you're like, okay, Rebecca, this is a true crime channel. Why are we talking about this? Because simply put, child custody is one of many reasons why you have so much with domestic violence, murder, whatnot, mayhem. These are all things that sometimes happen when you have contentious, good afternoon, Kit Kat, contentious custodies arrangements. So, before we get into this hardcore, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and it gets the algorithm out there to other people so they can subscribe and listen to what I'm talking about. So, and if you can hear me, please let me know you can hear me. Okay. So, the reason I'm on this topic today, I have been getting messages from people about a child named Charlotte Meza who supposedly has been kidnapped by her father and her grandmother. So, I looked at it, I went to the mother's Facebook page. Her name is Savannah May Allred, and she was going on about how her heart was shattered and broken and that her the father of her daughter and his mother just came in her house and took the kid and all these other things. And she went on to a very big long diatribe about how they don't have rights and they don't have this and this is crazy and they won't let her know where her kid is. And it's very heartbreaking if you just look at it on the surface. But when you look at it a little bit deeper, I mean, it doesn't take more than 30 seconds to look deeper into this. The first question I had was, okay, if he doesn't have rights and his mother doesn't have rights, and they just forcibly took the child from you, why didn't you call the police? Because if there's a custody arrangement, if there's some type of legal document stating who's supposed to have the kid, call the police, they can get that resolved very quickly. Because she's made it clear the child is out local. Like she's in Carthage, but the dad lives in Greensboro and the dad's girlfriend lives in High Point. So, I mean, they're local. So, I mean, and they're not trying to run. They're not trying to go to Charlotte or another state. So, call the police. Call the police. So, that's my stance there. And she's not done that. So, I decided to do a little bit more due diligence and look into the background of both parents because why not? Mom's got a history. Mom's got a history of larceny and drug abuse, and recently this year was picked up for driving recklessly with the child, who's, like, 4 years old, in the car, not in a safety seat, and also not with a seatbelt on. So she was charged with wanton endangerment. Doesn't sound great. Now, also in her post about the father, he's been in jail and he's done all these things. Okay, so I looked him up. He's got some weed charges. He had a, open container charge, no violence, no, drug dealing, nothing like that, that I could see. The grandmother I couldn't look up, I didn't actually have her name, so but between those 2, that's what I got between them. Now, the mom does have a recent charge of, like, as of today, of being charged with cyber stalking the dad of the child. So, that's going on. So, make a long story short, the one thing I did not see in the database for North Carolina courts is that neither one of them have ever petitioned the court for custody, visitation, child support, or medical support. None of that has ever been put through the courts. So the question is why? And the question is if he has no rights and the child has his last name, which she does, that means paternity has been established, meaning he signed the birth certificate when the child was born. So if you've already done all that, why haven't you done everything else? Why hasn't custody been done? And it's back and forth, she keeps saying he doesn't have rights, but at the same time, though, if there's no custody order and it would be in the North Carolina courts database that they have gone to court for this, which they never have, there is no custody order, meaning both parents have rights, meaning they're just basically stealing the child back and forth from each other, which is crazy and stupid altogether. Which starts a bigger question. And this is a debate I've had with friends and people that are in my life. Um, pull that down a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Generally, when you go to court for custody, whether it's the women, the men, whoever, 99% of the time, the mother of the child gets custody. Should that always be the case, though? That's the question at hand. This is where we're getting, the controversial part is. Should it automatically go to the mother? Now, I can talk when my parents got divorced, I was 16. And, my father didn't fight for custody. Mom got it automatically. And she was talking smack about dad, and dad was talking smack about her. And I got into both of them and said, stop, I'm not listening to it. But I had the frame of mind at 16 to say something like that. But when you're dealing with small children, they don't have that kind of point of reference to say, "Don't talk bad about so and so." They just don't, you know? Um, and I've seen too many cases where one parent is vastly not qualified to have full custody of the kid. Now, I've said that with both men and women. People in my own family, I can say this about. Um, just because you're a woman and just because you gave birth to a child does not mean you necessarily deserve to have full custody of said child. Not everybody's perfect. Not everyone's meant to be a mother. Not every just because you biologically can do it doesn't mean you should. And I can talk about some people in my own life that I can say that about. So there's that. So my question is, does anybody have any thoughts on this? Am I wrong for thinking this? Because I think the custody court should be vastly overhauled and there should be more things put in place because like it takes over a year sometimes to get custody established, and in that year, you could go through therapy sessions and checks and everything else, and maybe, just maybe, the court should do that due diligence and look into the parents and see who is vastly more qualified, you know, um, because it's just not black and white. I don't think it automatically should go to the mother, and it's so sad how many people think that way, and then you find out the mother, I'm not saying all mothers, but I'm saying in these situations, some of these, the mom is got mental issues, substance abuse issues, or is just vastly overwhelmed and is just not capable of being the mother that they need to be in this situation, you know? My sister-in-law is one of those people. Yeah, my sister-in-law, my late husband's sister, she's one of those people. She never should have had kids. Got to the point where she had 2 kids. Her youngest one, she automatically put up for adoption, but the oldest one she kept and abused the heck out of this boy. It got to the point where he was, like, 15, 16 years old, he ran away from home, went to his dad's house, and they went to the court. By the time it got to court, he was, like, 17, and the judge was like, "Hey, you're gonna be 18 at some point, why don't you just go home to your mom?" And he's like, "I don't want to, because she's beating me, and she's doing all these things to me," and he didn't wanna deal with it, and the judge gave custody to his father, even though it was only gonna be for, like, 6 months, but it was so important that that boy felt safe and that he was with the person he wanted to be with. Because his mother, even though she should have, based on how the rules go, she should have had custody automatically, and she did, but she vastly did not do her job. I mean, it was just a bad situation for that kid. It just was. Um, like I would have understood if somebody came in and had an issue with the way our household was run when my husband was alive, because he was an abusive alcoholic individual, and my kids had to deal with that, and I would have understood if the court came in and said, "Look, you can't keep your house stable. We're gonna take these kids away until you come to sense, and neither one of you are gonna get custody." I would have understood that completely. I would have been upset, but I would have understood it, intellectually. So, here's my thing. Again, I don't think custody should automatically go to the mother. I think it's something that needs to be investigated. I think both parties need to have checks and balances done, and it should go to whoever is more able to care for these kids full time. I think it really should come down to that. I mean, I saw a case not too long ago where, just to illustrate my point, it was a true crime case. Chick from North Carolina went to Ireland because she had had a miscarriage, went to start over, and went to Ireland and became a nanny for this younger guy. He was a businessman. He had 2 very small kids. He lost his wife tragically. She had, an asthma attack, and it just killed her.